We are going to go ahead and call this work session to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Walter,
Here.
Vice Mayor Woolridge. Vice Mayor Woolridge did call in and say she'd be a few minutes late, but she will be arriving soon. Councilmember Hawkins?
Here.
Councilmember Galeen?
Here.
Councilmember Anderson?
Here.
Councilmember Wall?
Here.
Councilmember Larson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to begin with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we'll begin with a call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at call to the public? I do know that we will have a call to the public that is coming back more towards the 6 p.m. time, so I will reopen it up at that time as well again. If there's nobody who would like to speak, I'm closing call to the public. Opening up the work session on the budget. All right. Well, we have a work session coming up on the 3rd. It is from 3:30 to 5:30, so if you think of something between now and then, come on out. Obviously, we want to continue to see programming in our departments continue to grow, ensuring that we have public safety and prompt response times. So, and economic development. We see all of you. I could go through every department and say this is what we need.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
The public input session is at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 3rd.
I swear I heard
There's a budget committee meeting at
3:30 to 5:30. Sorry, I just wanted to invite everybody there. Thank you for clarifying that. Mr. Billingsley.
Just ask Brent one thing. I know that we are interested in bringing more arts and culture to the community. Remember that suggestion I gave you about 1% from in our development agreements? Did we ever discuss that? That was an idea I got from another city.
That's something that the town used to, as part of its development agreements, include a percentage of those DAs from each unit that was built specifically to assist in redeveloping downtown. But my understanding is, I'm looking at Cliff here, although it was not during Cliff's time, but we had to stop that practice because it wasn't looked upon well. Do you have an answer?
And if we did it specifically for art and culture?
Let us look into that.
Check with the city of Oro Valley.
Oro Valley? We will check into that. Ma'am?
Yes.
The reason I was doing my little call a second ago is the folks that you wanted to have come and speak to call to the public
Yes.
are here and they're ready. So it might be a good time to do another call to the public.
That sounds great. I just want to say thank you, Joe, for your presentation tonight. We are starting our budget season much earlier this year than we have had in previous years. We're working really hard to make sure that we have citizen input and everybody is heard from. So thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to reopen call to the public. And I understand we have some people here. I'm not going to limit them because I believe it's in the public's best interest to hear what they have to say. And Mr. Troy Day?
That's correct, Mayor. Thank you, and appreciate the opportunity to speak before Town Council and Mayor. My name is Troy Day. I'm Vice President of Operations for EPCOR. The Mayor invited us to come down and introduce ourselves. We've been interim manager for Johnson Utilities since August 31st, so just over a month. We are working hard to make some improvements. We understand the conditions are not ideal. If it's all right with the council, I'd like to give EPCOR a brief introduction, let you know who we are, and then I'd like to introduce Jeff Stuck. He's the Director of Operations, and Sarah Mahler, she's the Director of Customer Care, and let them give you just a brief update on what they're working on as well.
Okay.
So EPCOR has a fairly large footprint in Arizona. We serve a population of just under 400,000. We are in Fountain Hills, the other Anthem, the North Anthem. We're on the West Valley from Sun City Grand, all the way down to Buckeye. We're in Bullhead City, all the way down to Tubac. So we have just over 200,000 connections, serving almost 400,000 people. We have been in Arizona since 2012. EPCOR purchased Arizona American Water. We have been chosen by the Arizona Corporation Commission to come in as interim manager for Johnson Utilities due to several problems that the utility is having. Again, we've been in that position for just over a month. I told the town manager what we need most is patience, because we will get things fixed and we will get them on the right track, but it's not going to happen overnight. It took 2 decades to get this utility to where it is. We won't need that long to fix what we think needs to be fixed, but it won't happen overnight either. So if that's all right with the town council, I'd like to introduce Jeff Stuck and let him give you a quick rundown on what he's working on in operations.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Again, my name is Jeff Stuck, and I'm an operations director with EPCOR Water, directly overseeing the operations of water and wastewater facilities in various parts of the state of Arizona that Troy Day mentioned, and most recently overseeing the operations and functioning of the local utility, Johnson Utilities, here in Santan Valley for the past month. And so I want you all to know that we are very aware of the issues and concerns that the customers have had and continue to have with the utility. We're looking very hard at those concerns, pressure-related concerns, odor-related concerns, customer service-related concerns that Sarah Mahler will be speaking about here shortly. But in terms of the day-to-day work that we've been able to do over the last month, we've spent a great deal of time assessing and getting to know the system. In terms of the size of utility that Troy spoke about, EPCOR Water has, Johnson Utilities would be a moderately sized utility, but it's spread over a large area, and there are many components of the utility that are located in various locations around the service territory. Our focus, top of mind focus, is ensuring that the water quality that the customers receive meets all federal and state water quality standards, making sure that the wastewater that the utility processes stays in the pipes and goes to the plants and is properly treated at the plants and disposed of in the proper manner and consistent with the permits that have been issued for the utility, and also addressing a number of open regulatory actions, getting them done, completed, closed out, and headed in the right direction. There's a lot of work, as Mr. Day mentioned. Some of it we think we'll be able to get to relatively quickly. Much more will take a longer amount of time and will require capital investments to be made. But we are working around the clock, fully dedicated and committed to this project, and trying to restore this utility, get it on firm ground, and build it up so that not only is it operating the way it's supposed to be, but that it can going forward for many, many years to come. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Sarah Mahler for customer service.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Mahler. I'm the Director of Customer Care with EPCOR. My team and I have been working very closely with the customer care and back office staff at Johnson Utilities to take a look at some of the key concerns that our community members have had. Some of the very high-level things that I sort of attacked as a priority were verifying that rates were set up in the Johnson Utilities billing system and in accordance with approved tariffs, that bills are being calculated correctly, that collections procedures are complying with ACC regulations, that customer care representatives are being trained on key and hot topics, that tax credits that have recently been ordered by the Corporation Commission are currently being tested, and we believe those will show up on customers' November bills. Customers will be notified about those tax credits and how they're calculated and the key components, and customer care agents will have the necessary messaging and training to adequately and accurately communicate with customers about those tax credits.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the Town Council. That was really what we wanted to do, was come down and introduce ourselves. I understand this isn't the forum to take questions, but our information is with Mr. Billingsley, and we're happy to entertain any questions through him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Day and team, for coming down this evening.
Good luck. You have your hands full.
While that call to the public is still open, is there anybody that would like to speak at this time? And closing call to the public. Okay, so the time is 6:05 p.m. We are going to proceed with item number 7, which is adjourning to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District number 1.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item A is discussion approval, disapproval of the professional services agreement extension with EPS Group Incorporated for Merrill Ranch Community Facility District Number 1 Engineering Services. Mr. Chris Salas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. This item is a requirement of our CFD. EPS was selected as part of our general on-call selection 2 years ago, and we're just asking for an extension while we gather additional RFPs in the future for a CFD on-call engineers as well as utility engineers. There's no monetary impact. This was part of, they are well within their budget of the original approved contract. We're just merely asking for an extension.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Then I need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the professional service agreement extension with EPS Group Incorporated for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B is July 30th, 2018, Merrill Ranch Community Facility District Number 1 meeting minutes.
Make a motion to accept July 30th, 2018 Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1 meeting minutes.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Make a motion to adjourn from Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adjourn from Merrill Ranch Community, adjourn to Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item A, again, is discussion approval, disapproval of the professional services agreement extension with EPS Group Incorporated for Merrill Ranch Community Facility District Number 2 Engineering Services.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. This item is just a same item as before, but for CFD Number 2. If you have any questions for me.
I don't see any questions. With that, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve professional service agreement extension with EPS Group Incorporated for Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B is July 30th, 2018 Merrill Ranch Community Facility District Number 2 meeting minutes. Just need an approval on that.
Make a motion to approve the July 30th, 2018 Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2 meeting minutes.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Make a motion to adjourn from Merrill Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 11 is presentations. Our first presentation is by Arizona Fight Club. I'd like to welcome up Mr. Randy Robles.
Madam Mayor, members of council, the town of Florence has received an application for development agreement from the Robles family, and I thought it'd be appropriate to have them come and talk about the Robles family's history in Florence and what they would like to work with the town on. So with no further ado.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Town Council. I'm Randy Robles. This is my wife, Julie. And we're here to present a little idea of a project we have for Florence, my hometown. And I'm going to let Julie take over. She's much better at public speaking than I am.
No worries.
Not very, but all right. So my name's Julie Robles. Nice to meet you all. And so we have a boxing fitness gym. I'm just going to kind of go through the slides a little quickly, but we did provide copies for all of you. The name of our gym is Arizona Fight Club. We were established in 2009. We offer multiple boxing and fitness programs for children, adults, and seniors 55 plus. Whether you're looking to compete, lose weight, learn self-defense, or live a healthy lifestyle, we're here to help. We're passionate about helping at-risk youth. We are fighting to keep kids in school, fighting to keep kids off drugs, and fighting to be a positive influence amongst our community, Arizona Fight Club. So Arizona Fight Club has produced many amateur champions at the state and national level. Many have successfully gone on to the pro level of boxing while showcasing their talents on major networks such as Showtime and ESPN. So a little bit about us. Randy has spent a lifetime in boxing starting at the age of 6 as a boxer. He is now a boxing trainer, cutman, manager of pro fighters, and gym owner. We met 6 years ago at the Arizona Golden Gloves. Since meeting, I began managing the gym while assisting Randy with his pro fighters. What do we offer? Arizona Fight Club offers group classes such as boxing fitness, kickboxing, boot camps, Zumba, Pilates, yoga, and other fitness-related classes that we'll add as we grow. We offer technical training for our amateur boxing team, pro fighters, and self-defense seminars. We also have a desert training camp for pro fighters from around the world. These fighters will be able to stay and train here before big upcoming fights, and we also offer personal training. So here's just some pictures of just some clients that we have now and some people that are on the boxing team training in the gym. So how did Arizona Fight Club begin? Randy Robles worked as a trainer at a boxing gym in Tempe for over a year that did not allow kids under the age of 14, amateur boxers, or professional boxers. So the vision for his own boxing gym began in 2009 as he wanted to provide a boxing facility for all ages, amateur and pro boxers alike. He first opened Arizona Fight Club in Tempe, but over the last 10 years he has partnered up with various gyms but hasn't felt that he found his forever spot. He began to think about the town of Florence, where his boxing journey began for him, and so we've become very passionate about bringing the boxing gym back to his roots. A little bit about our head boxing coach. Randy was one of the greatest amateur boxers of all time with a record of 426 wins and only 11 losses. Just to note the picture, that's actually Florence High, and those are just some of his trophies that he has. But it's Florence High, so we thought that was cool. And then he has worked in the boxing industry for over 40 years and now trains boxers himself. He has worked with many world champions and has helped many kids get off the streets to pursue their dreams of becoming a boxer. He has been named Coach of the Year many times for the West Coast. Randy is always striving to offer the best boxing and fitness programs for everyone who attends the gym, And over the years coaching boxers, he has also managed multiple boxing fitness facilities, including a gym of his own, but now he would like to bring his experiences and knowledge back to the town of Florence, where it began for himself. Here's just some photos of him in the Florence Blade, and then this is like 2 Florence boxers, him with his dad, a couple more photos. And so why Florence? Florence has a high demand for a facility like this, as there's no other gym like it within a 30-mile radius of the town. Randy and I would like to bring back what his father started when Randy was a child growing up in the town of Florence. When his father was here, they had a boxing gym, and they had over 150 kids attend. So it was definitely very popular. Substance abuse is a problem in many communities. One of our goals is to offer a healthy outlet for at-risk youth. And then we have a petition survey with close to 500 signatures from residents in the town that want to see a boxing fitness facility in the town of Florence. So what specific programs will we offer the town? Kids boxing and kickboxing programs for ages 8 through 12, boxing and fitness programs for ages 13 plus, and senior boxing program for ages 55 plus. We'll also have an amateur boxing team for those wanting to compete in the sport and possibly pursue their dreams in becoming an Olympian or professional boxer. And then we'll have boxing and fitness programs that will benefit our military, law enforcement, and prison guards that live in town, and then self-defense seminars. Some benefits of boxing: cardiovascular health, improved strength, better hand-eye coordination, decreased stress level, self-defense, increased confidence and self-esteem, healthy weight management, promotes discipline and respect, and improves both physical and mental fitness. So part of us coming out here, we would like to reach out to the community. The community is very important to us. We would like to get involved with different community programs, such as the Sheriff's Department. We have talked to a few people there already. We also work with multiple group homes, and if there's some in the town, we would love to work with them as well. And then children living on the reservation in Sackatoon, we did have a group traveling to us, but with us being closer in Florence, we know that they'll come here as well. And then we want to do fundraisers for our boxing team, car wash, poker night, charity events, a school supply drive, toy drive, food drive, and then we're looking for sponsors. So we're working with a couple local nonprofits that will help sponsor children whose families that can't afford membership fees. We never want to turn away a child. If a child comes to us and their family can't afford it, we'll make sure that they'll be able to come. As well as we want to partner with local businesses wanting to help sponsor maybe our professional boxers as they pursue their career, and then local sponsors for our amateur boxing events. So some weekend events that we'd like to bring to the town is our amateur boxing events. We want to do it every other month, if not once a month. It'll support local talent, raises funds for the team, and it's a family-friendly event with food and music. We also will hold state championship events here. We talk to those that own the Copper and Golden Gloves, and they will host their tournaments here. It'll bring a lot of economic value to the town. We'll utilize the hotels, the restaurants, and other local businesses will benefit. And so both events will bring high interest to the town of Florence. Another event that we'd like to do is, we call it Fight Night at the Gym, where we'll have a giant movie screen showing the pro fights. We'll show pay-per-view fights and other big-time fights that might be on ESPN, Showtime, or HBO. Some of these fights could include boxers that train at our facility as well, so that's something exciting. And then we'll have food and drinks, and it's fun for the whole family. We'll provide jobs. We'll hire 4 to 6 full-time employees and 8 to 10 part-time employees. Some of these jobs will include fitness instructors, front desk associate, janitorial and cleaning team, marketing associate, and personal trainers. So our location right now is kind of to be determined. We would love to be on or near Main Street in Florence. We found one building on Main Street that could work temporarily, but we would need to purchase custom-made equipment that costs roughly $100,000 made special for this building. And then after finding our forever spot, the same equipment might not work for us anymore. So we're open to other buildings, possibly a lease-to-own option, or there's a possibility of us building our own building. So options for building our forever spot: we're considering building our own boxing fitness gym. We would like to establish our forever home. We want Arizona Fight Club to be around even after our passing. And if we build, the building would be built specific to the fitness gym's needs. We are already working with a team of architects and are still in the design phases because the site is still to be determined. And if we build in Florence, our dream is to be near the new library and aquatic center at the end of Main Street. And then we also have a construction company and contractor lined up and ready to get started. These are just some renderings and images of what we worked with our architects on. So these are possibly what the building would look like on the outside. This is another view of it. The floor plan will change. We are still in the design phase. As you can see, there's a living quarters. The living quarters won't be as big. We'll only have 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a living area, as well as a fitness area room and the reception area. This is a clean version. And then, so you might ask, why do we need a living quarters? The living quarters would be used to house various pro fighters from all around the world. Our facility would be used as our desert training camp before big upcoming fights. These professional boxers would occasionally train side by side with many of the children that reside in Florence. Could you imagine a world champion boxer running with the kids in town? After these fighters leave our desert training camp to go fight, we will show the fights at our gym as long as they're televised. And this would be very inspiring for the youth of the town and used as a tool to encourage children to stay in school, stay focused, and always do their best to succeed. So some of our short-term goals include fundraising and finding sponsors for underprivileged youth whose families can't afford the membership. Secondly, we would like to purchase a van or bus that can be used to transport our amateur boxing team to different competitions and events. Thirdly, Arizona Fight Club plans to put on amateur boxing events in the town of Florence every other month, if not every month. A couple long-term goals that we have include adding an outdoor training facility with an obstacle course, sand pits, and cargo climbing nets, as well as a possible addition on our building for an MMA program. Additionally, Arizona Fight Club will offer a desert training camp with the living quarters for professional fighters from around the world. And in conclusion, we want to own our own building. So just a quick summary, we have a 60% retention rate in clients that stay with us for over 10 years. Most of our clients that join become lifelong members. As we relocate to Florence, many of them said they would still follow, and we are excited to bring our knowledge and passion for boxing to the town of Florence. Our boxing and fitness programs are the best that Arizona has to offer. In this master copy, I did only make one, I apologize. I do have letters of recommendation for us as well as a survey petition. It shows an online version as well as a handwritten version when we went out in the community. And then we just attached some photos for you guys to look at. And then thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Billingsley, you had something to add?
Yes, Madam Mayor. We have received a development agreement application from Arizona Fight Club. It is in your binder, and it would please me greatly if there was a motion to accept that application so that we can move forward on potential development agreement with these folks. It doesn't cost any money. It's just accepting their application.
Oh, no, absolutely. I know that we're very excited that you're wanting to come into the town of Florence and move forward with this project.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you suggesting we need to make a motion?
Yeah, it says it's a presentation for information only.
No, but there
Cliff
is-
just clarified, as long as you give me direction,
Yeah,
then we're good to go.
you have our direction.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Here, here.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
I don't see anybody saying no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your
And you know,
presentation.
I know our town manager, our staff, they're going to work with you. We're going to figure out the best location for your gym. We have an amazing chamber, so you can sort of partner with them. We have a new director that's coming in, and we're going to make sure that advertisement happens and
Thank you.
that it's well communicated that you're here and coming into town.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just introduce one of my fighters. This young man's Othan Corolla. He's been with me since he's 13. He only has 19 fights, but he's probably going to be a national champion here soon. He's going to move to Florence as well as his family with us because we like to be family. We raised this food. I'm sorry we didn't bring enough.
No, you did
Busy this
amazing.
week, but we just want to show that we like to be part of the community. This is where I'm from, and we love this town. And I've been wanting to come here back for like 12 years. And so I've been around the world, and I just want to bring it back. But this is Othon.
How are you?
He's Army ROTC. He's going to college right now. We very much, you can't just be a boxing. We're not just boxing. We're teaching how to be successful in life as well. And this young man shows a lot of it.
Would you like to say a few words while you're up here?
Food. He tried to eat half of it on the way. But thank you very much.
No. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and also thank you for your donation. That's going to be going to our local food banks as well.
It's just things that we do. We will get involved with the community. Yeah. We do food drives, back to school drives, whatever we can do to help.
And your plan ties in beautifully with our area over here of wanting to have a gym and bring in that healthy community.
We iterate boxing a lot, but it's a fitness center as well. There's going to be weights, cardio equipment. It's not just boxing, but we do believe the boxing program. And so, I mean, there's going to be a lot of programs offered, and it'll reach for anybody. It's not just boxers. We consider everybody that comes to our gym a fighter because you fight to do a lot of things. And people say, well, Arizona Fight Club, is it like fighting? And they're like, no. My whole life I've been fighting. I've been fighting to keep kids in school, fighting to keep them off the drugs, fighting to keep them off the streets. And in Tempe, I probably helped at least 750 kids as far as I have in my record. And I would say that 80% of them have been successful in life. So we're just not a boxing gym, but that's what we call ourselves.
Awesome. It's got a great name. It's catchy. Yeah. And I even saw yoga on there.
Always fighting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Town Council, for your time.
I just wanted to say thank you as well for the food, so I really appreciate your donation.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
He was one of the boxes as a kid.
All right, our next presentation is a presentation on the 2018 Pinal County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Chief Strayer. Got up real quick. I was like, where do you go?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Recently, the Pinal County Office of Emergency Management hired a consultant to update their wildland fire mitigation protection plan. This was a 6-month process or so that involved fire departments throughout Pinal County, including Florence. We had a lot of input into this. Tonight we have Art Carlton from the Pinal County Office of Emergency Management to go over this plan with you and to answer any questions you may have.
Hey, Mr. Carlton, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you, ma'am. Madam Mayor and Council, I appreciate your opportunity to allow me to be here. It's a great honor to work with your staff at all times, so I really do appreciate it. The Community Wildfire Protection Plan will cover certain things such as what is the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, the history and the past of the council actions, and what are the benefits of the town of Florence. The Community Wildfire Protection Plan, what is it? What does it do? It's a local plan addressing and reduce the wildfire risk. And I want to use the risk because I'll explain that later, what the difference between threat and risk is. To reduce the risk to the town of Florence and Pinal County as a whole. Collaboration developed by our local governments and fire departments with assistance from the state and federal agencies. So basically what you're looking at is the State Forestry Department, the federal BLM, federal forestry, all these folks are play into this plan. Identify the priority areas for fuel reduction treatments. So this plan goes in and identifies those areas. And one of the things they identify it with from the previous plan is they came up with a new model, and I'll explain that later to you. Recommends measures that can be taken to reduce the ignitable of the structures. So it basically gives you an idea how we plan for that. We just don't go in there and clear cut or moonscape things. There's a process and a procedure to go through to thin out the fuels. Encourage community involvement and promotes economic development. And part of this too is it helps out your ISO ratings, having this plan. And we'll go a little more into that in a little bit. The plan was first developed in 2009, and I had the pleasure of sitting on that committee as well. as we go forth. The current revision process began October 17th of 2017. So it's been a while coming to update this plan. And we have to go through about every 5 years to update the plan. Yes, it was 2009 when the original was done. And yes, we were a little late on this one, but we're on the roll now to go forward. The revision process includes the core team composed of the local fire departments, state and federal forestry, fire agencies, electric utility companies, and subject matter experts. These subject matter experts are talking about the fuels that are out there. That's the brush, the trees, the weeds, whatever that may be out there. The Pinal County Board of Supervisors actually approved this plan on August 8th, 2018. And what we're doing here today is to get your support to adopt it for the county, for the town, as well as, I think the fire chief and the police chief have to sign off on that plan as well for us to move forward. Given local governments and fire chiefs a critical role in the development of the plan, who along with the state must agree to this plan. So this is why we're bringing it to it. My counterpart, Wade Branham, is actually at the City of Casa Grande Council meeting talking about the same thing to get their approval. We've received approval so far, I believe, from Kearney, and there's one other community on the east side that he went to and discussed this over. So we are rolling this out to all the communities. Giving priorities to federal government mitigation grant funds to maximize extended possible communities that have adopted this plan. Okay, the other part of this is the benefits required federal agencies to implement fuel reduction projects to give priorities to projects that are identified in the plan. So basically we identify some projects that are in there, and please understand this is a living plan. This plan can change, those projects can change. So it is a living plan. Does not obligate the town to any policies, projects, or expenditures. Okay, this is a map, and this is probably the last thing it says questions up there, but I just want you to take a look at the map because we've had some questions on this map. The bright yellow areas are the moderate risk areas, and that's why I said the risk is an important thing. We have the threat. You can go out in the desert, you can go up into our high countries, you can see the threat all around. We're always worried about the wildland fires during the summertime. And yes, we do have them in Pinal County. It's a busy time of year for us. Then you'll see the red areas that are high-risk areas. Okay, the risk is there, the threat is there, the risk tells us how high of a risk it is. Now, you got to look at it from the standpoint that this new model that they're using since 2000, they created after 2009, is the fact that they took all the vegetation, all the fuels and everything from the western states, and then they developed their risk software program to determine on what's high, what's low, what's medium. So as you know, up in our White Mountains area, there's a higher risk of wildfires. We've experienced them up there. Now you come down here, there's the less fuel, lower fuels, and they're not as much of a risk, such as over in the Casa Grande area where it's all green. That's all farm fields around there. So the risk isn't as high as it would be in the Gila River along the north part of town here or in the center part of town. So these are the things that we're constantly looking at. They're constantly developing and moving on. But like I said, this plan's a living plan. And the good part about this plan too is it not only helps your ISO ratings, but it also puts us in front of anybody else for mitigation funds. So if there's during a disaster, the government usually, a presidential disaster, the government usually puts forth a ton of money for mitigation projects to resolve issues so we don't have to do them, constantly go back and respond to those emergencies all the time. So these mitigation funds are available during that time. Now, having the Community Wildfire Protection Plan allows us to be at the top of the list to get those funds. And so this plan has a lot of things behind it, but there's no obligations to you guys at this time. Any questions?
I just have a question about how to approach those areas that the town doesn't have jurisdiction over, such as private property, state land, BLM land.
That is where we work with partnerships between the town, the county, the state agencies, the federal agencies, and the private property owners. We're working with this in the San Pedro River right now. We received close to $500,000 to reduce fuels over on that side of the county through the San Pedro River. We've actually set up a committee over there that is made up of all those people, the private sector, the private property owners, the state, the feds, the county, the local jurisdictions that are over there. And so we all work together on that. Some of last year before, we had some inmates go down where we had the roach fire in Dudleyville. After that, we actually had inmates from the town of Florence prison over here go out there and start thinning fuels out for us. And so that's part of a cost-saving thing, part of the match to those grants that we get. So it is a cooperative collaboration type of thing for everybody to get involved in this. It's just not one agency going out there and doing it.
Thank you.
So now that you're presenting this evening, and we know that this is an informational-only session, what are the next steps moving forward?
I would believe that we would probably have to have the town council approve it. And so there'd be whatever you guys' policy is on that.
Okay, so it'll appear on another agenda, and this is our opportunity to ask you any questions that have to do with this. So just wanted to know, any other questions regarding this item?
Yes, I have a question. Out in Anthem, where I live, we have the 404 wash in there, and that was cleaned up probably 6 years ago, but it hadn't been cleaned up since. It just, it's just a tinderbox. So how do we get that cleaned up, and who would come in and help?
That, again, if it's in the town of Florence, we'd be working with the town of Florence, as well as with the county, state agencies, especially when it's in a wash like that. We'd be working with the Corps of Engineers. All these folks get together and work out those projects and figure out the best way to resolve those issues.
Okay, thank you.
I was interested in specifically the areas that are high risk on this map.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a show me deeper into the map kind of person. So can you help me understand where those...
The red areas just south of town
okay.
are basically your cactus forest area, farther down, a little bit farther down than that. And what it is it's a lot of those communities where those houses are. And what we're looking at mainly, and that's why there's that red line around there, and the darker yellow areas are the unpopulated areas where, there's not a lot of threat out there for a fire to burn anything other than the brush. But when you get into the communities themselves, and what we're trying to do is thin the brush out, and wildland, and I'm sorry I forgot the acronym, I'm from FEMA, I love acronyms. The WUI is the difference between where the houses are, the structures are, and then where the wildland areas start. And what we're looking at is cleaning that brush out there so it reduces the threat of the fire towards those type of structures. And that is what those red areas are, is basically the structures, the houses that are close to areas that really need to be looked at and try to thin out that fuels to prevent wildfires.
Now, you brought up an interesting perspective, and considering you're from the county as well, how are we handling cactus forest in regards to fires? Because they're not technically in a municipal boundary. I understand from what I've heard that rural metro won't respond to there.
Right.
These are people, they live, in our town, they attend our churches, they live in our community, they work in our community, their kids go to our high school. What can we do to...
One of the things we're doing right now is my boss, who's the emergency management director, has been tasked to come up with some way to provide fire protection for the unincorporated areas of the county. Okay? And the reason we're doing that is because of the development that is coming to this county. They wanted to start developing the I-8 corridor for more industrial development, but most of those companies have to have a fire department because of their insurance. And so it's hindering our development on that side of the county right now. And so that's why it's being folded out now. There's an economic impact on that. And so we're scratching our heads trying to figure out what's the best way to get these unincorporated areas that are not serviced by a fire department or district to be able to get them fire service so that then it'll start providing more economic development items that come forth.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Madam Mayor,
That is in the works right now.
if you look at page 32 and 33, it gives us the detail on Florence and the red zones.
I know, I just wanted it presented.
She wants to see if I'm on my toes.
Well, and I also feel it's better because I know a lot of the public, you know, they don't have that right in front of them, and talking about it, I'm more of a visual person, and I like to not only read, but communicate and have that visual aspect to it.
Right. And we've got to look at one is what money is available at the time, what's our highest priorities, where do we need to look at. And like I said, the $500,000 that they provided to us is targeted for the east side because of that presidential declared disaster that was over there, the Roach Fire. And so we're focusing on that to reduce some of the fuels over there. A lot of that's the tamaracks that are up and down through that river, and they burn really well.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, thank you for that presentation, sir. Chief Strayer, would you like to add anything?
I'd just like to thank Art and Chuck and his whole group. They're great to work with. They're great partners. We're lucky to have them here in Florence. We've helped them out, and they've helped us out a lot, and we continue to have a great partnership. I appreciate Art coming tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. All right, our next item is a proclamation declaring October 7th to 13th as Fire Prevention Week. Chief Strayer, I will meet you at the podium. All right. This is our Fire Prevention Week proclamation. We're going to take turns.
Okay, that's why I got my glasses ready.
Do you want to do the first paragraph?
This is the domestic violence.
See, he has his readers.
Fire Prevention Week, October 7th through the 13th. Whereas, through the 3 simple calls to action, this year's theme identifies basic but essential ways people can reduce their risk to fire and be prepared in the event of one. Look for places fire can start. Listen for the sound of the smoke alarm. Learn 2 ways out of each room. And
whereas people take safety for granted and are not aware of the risks of a fire, and paying attention to your surroundings, looking for available exits in the event of a fire or other emergency, and taking the smoke alarm seriously if it sounds can make a potentially life-saving difference in a fire or other emergency situation. And
whereas this year's Fire Prevention Week messages apply to virtually all locations, however, NFPA continues to focus on home fire safety as the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occur at a home each year. In fact, the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to the fire department was 10% higher in 2016 than in 1980. And
whereas significant progress has been made in preventing home fires from happening, these statistics show that there is still much work to be done when it comes to teaching people how to protect themselves in the event of one, and why advancing planning is so critically important. And
whereas look, listen, learn, be aware, fire can happen anywhere, works to remind the public that fires can and do still happen at home as well as other locations, and that there are basically but vitally important steps people can take to remain safe. And
Whereas the official sponsor of Fire Prevention Week for more than 90 years, NFPA works with local fire departments through North America to promote the campaign in their communities and reaches out to the public directly to encourage everyone to take action and be safe. Now therefore, I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the Town of Florence, Arizona, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim October 7th to 13th as Fire Prevention Week, and do hereby call upon all citizens to remember to look, listen, and learn to reduce the risks of fires and be prepared in case there is one.
In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand and affix the official seal of the Town of Florence, Arizona on this first day of October 2018.
Put that down. Thank you. Oh, this is for you. Okay. And for our next proclamation, I'm going to call up both chiefs and Miss Nancy Larson from Pinal County Attorney's Office. I'm not sick, ladies and gentlemen. I attended the Coolidge versus Florence football game this past Saturday. I may have lost my voice at that event. It was so much fun. It was a good game. Okay. Can I start the first one? I love taking turns reading paragraphs. It's educating.
Whereas domestic violence is a pervasive problem that affects 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men in Arizona and stands in direct opposition to our #1 priority of protecting Arizona families and communities, and
whereas in Arizona, every 36 minutes, an officer responds to a domestic violence incident with a child present, and every 19 minutes, an arrest is made. These numbers are tragic because domestic violence impacts our families, communities, schools, workplaces on a daily basis, and
whereas this is an issue that affects all ages, races, religions, social economic backgrounds, and education levels, and ending violence in the home, at work, and in the community requires vigilant and dedication from every part of our society. We all have a responsibility to know the signs, to help the victimized and the vulnerable, to speak out against it whenever we can. And
whereas during the month of October, victim advocate groups, centers, service workers, and many other organizations come together to connect those who work to end violence, to celebrate those who have survived and mourn those who have died because of domestic violence, and
whereas the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family will host their 4th annual Lighting Arizona Purple event at the state capitol on October 2nd, 2018, and will light the Capitol Dome purple as a symbol of Arizona's dedication to ending domestic violence, and will launch the month-long Lighting Arizona Purple campaign. Governor Douglas A. Ducey encourages Arizonans to stand with him as we send the unwavering message that domestic violence can stop, and invites everyone to join in this effort by lighting their homes purple. And
whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month is an opportunity to stand with domestic violence survivors, to celebrate the progress made in combating these crimes, and to recommit to reducing domestic violence in their communities. And now, therefore, I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the Town of Florence, Arizona, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim and declare October 2018 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in support of this worthy cause, we will have the Town Hall lit purple for the remainder of October 2018 to help raise awareness, and do hereby call upon all citizens to light their homes purple in support of this effort. So in witness thereof, I have set my hand and affixed the official seal in the Town of Florence this first day of October 2018. They are. Oh, here Here comes Mark. We're going to do 2 for insurance. Scooch. The number 1 was the administration department, town hall. I do have some certificates of appreciation for all the department heads. If I could have town council and the department heads, once you're called up, come on up in front of the food donations and we will take a picture, or you could stand behind the podium, whichever you choose. All right.
You have to go stand.
We will start with administration, town hall. Thank you, sir. If you're here at town hall, come on up, stand. Community services. Fire. Thank you. Oh, you get to stand up front, you're getting your picture taken. Community development. That's you and Chris. Oh, you're probably, I got you. You're part of it. Public Works. And police.
Get the panorama on for this one. Yeah, no flash. All right. 1, 2, 3. I think Sean is up here.
No.
That's Aaron. What? Didn't he get it? Yep. Oh. There you go.
All right, thank you, everybody. That was great community teamwork. All right, thank you, everybody. Item F is recognition to the Town of Florence as Recycling Champions 2017. Mr. Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of council, it's with great pleasure I stand before you this evening to let you know that the Town of Florence has once again, I think this is our second or third time, won the Recycling Champions Award. Over our last year's fiscal year with regarding our paving projects, we used approximately 130,500 pounds of crown rubber that was derived from about 13,000 tires and kept those tires out of landfills. So congratulations to Chris Solis and the Public Works crew for another good year of recycling and, of course, putting down beautiful roads for us here in the town of Florence. Thank you. Chris.
Thank you very much. Chris, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I guess thank you for the council for approving all the projects. I mean, I'm lucky to work in a community where we have support from our council on these projects, and the administration staff. We have a very healthy budget for all these types of projects, and so like I said, I guess thank you very much to all the council members and the administration and Dan Sisko for managing these projects, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing them through. Good job. All right, item 12 is the consent agenda. Whew. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is approval of the initial term extension of the lease addendum between the Town of Florence and Norwegian Law Offices, PLC at the Bruin Camp Building through October 31st, 2019. Item B is the approval of the intergovernmental agreement number 2018-03 regarding reimbursement of overtime and overtime employee-related expenses incurred due to the Florence Police Department's participation in the Pinal County Narcotics Task Force Arizona Criminal Justice Commission, the ACJC grant DC-17-10. C is approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Florence and the Florence Unified School District Number 1 for joint use of recreation facilities. D, approval of the professional services agreement extension with Wilson and Company Incorporated for general civil on-call engineering services. E is approval of the professional services agreement extension with T.Y. Lin International for general civil on-call engineering services. F is approval of the professional services agreement extension with Waterworks Engineers LLC for utility on-call engineering services. Item G is approval of the professional services agreement extension with EPS Group Incorporated for on-call engineering services. H is to accept the resignation of Dwayne Nowak from the Arts and Culture Commission. Item I is authorizing the town manager to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Phoenix for use of the Phoenix Business Intelligence System. J is approval of the contract with Fairfield Service Company of Indiana, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for service technician, evaluation, rehabilitation, and repair of the Fairfield Service Company climber screen. Item K is approval of accepting the register of demands ending August 31st, 2018 in the amount of $3,359,014.33. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your consent agenda. Is there any member of the council or public that would like any item removed at this time? With that, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Item 13A, new business. This is discussion, approval, disapproval of a 6-month extension of the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce Professional Services Agreement through June 30th, 2019. In an amount not to exceed $33,750. Mrs. Jennifer Evans.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. The agenda item you have before you is a request from the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce for additional funds associated with their professional services contract this year. That agreement will expire the end of December 2018, so we are requesting that the agreement be extended through June 30th of 2019 with the addition of $15,000 in funds. So the request would be, those funds, additional funds would be prorated over that period of time. And we have several members of the Chamber of Commerce Board here this evening, as well as their new CEO, Larry Johnson. So I will turn it over to the Chamber.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, staff, and community members for that matter. My name is Larry Johnson. I'm actually the new executive director of the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce. I come with approximately 15 years of chamber management experience. I spent about 9 years in Apache Junction, where we were fortunate to achieve significant success in the form of both growth in our business community, growth in our membership. We actually more than doubled our membership during my tenure of 9 years, as well as our visitor centers numbers increased all the way to just shy of 40,000 by the time I departed. So I'm a native of Arizona. I was born and raised in Globe, Miami area. My grandparents owned a small business. My parents owned a small business. My dad spent 42 years at a mine. So I have a deep-rooted love, if you will, and passion for small communities, and I simply want to see them live up to their potential. I understand there's been a bit of faith lost, to be honest with you, between the chamber and the city, or the town rather, and for that all I can say is moving forward, if I say something, I assure you it will be done. If you ever have a concern, my door will always be open. My business cards will include my cell phone number. I've already put out my email to everyone in Facebook land, if you will, and I'm reaching out to each and every community member I can to try to get your input as to what you see the direction of the community going in, as well as what you want to see from the chamber moving forward. Again, I'm here because I'm passionate about small communities. I'm passionate about small business development, and I simply want to see Florence held up in a little higher light. So I'm happy to answer any questions about anything I can. I'm about 12 hours in at this point, so this was my first day, literally. So I appreciate you having me, and I certainly appreciate your consideration. I know this is a significant contribution, and I take it more seriously than you, I assure you. And the proof will come over the next six to 12 months. Also, I would like to participate next year in your food draft. That's certainly something that we'd like to get involved with. So, any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Any questions from council?
I would just like to thank you for accepting the position with the chamber. Over the last few months, as the liaison with the chamber, I have been excited to see the professionalism and the makeup of the chamber board and the direction that they're taking. And I'd like to welcome you to Florence.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Wall. Any other questions?
All right, so if there's nothing else, I'd like to also welcome you to Florence. We're looking forward to everything that you're going to bring. We've kind of been following, doing a little background. And
we'll be working together. It's a partnership, Mayor, so I appreciate that.
It absolutely is, and I know that you have an amazing chamber that will support you. So, and if you need anything, we're here.
All I need is this for now.
So with that, we need a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve a 6-month extension of the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce Professional Services Agreement through June 30th, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $33,750.
Second.
Motion and multiple seconds. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Item B is discussion, approval, disapproval of the professional services agreement extension with Hazen and Sawyer for utility on-call engineering services in an amount not to exceed $175,000. Mr. Christopher Salas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. A little bit of, since everything was approved on the consent agenda for the previous items, I wanted to kind of take it back in time a little bit and discuss within Arizona Revised Statutes, Chapter 6, Title 34, there's a description of what is required for using professional services on publicly bid projects, which is what we do here. So those requirements require the town to obtain services based on qualification and not on a low bid principle for our professional engineering services. So that would cover, again, our utility engineers, our CFD engineers, and just our general on-call engineers. So with that, the town approximately, I think about 27, well, no, it'd be 23 months ago, we approved contracts for a 2-year contract for all of our on-call engineers. Within those contracts, the original amount was sufficient for the original 4. These 2 have procured a lot of work with the town. Our utilities have by far benefited from all of the on-call engineers, and Westland and Hazen has secured a majority of that work. So we're asking for an additional $175,000. This is not anything that is unforeseen as far as budgetary. The CIP projects pay for, I don't know, 95% of this work. This is not something that is not budgeted or unforeseen. It just so happens that the majority of the work has been done by those 2 contractors. So for both Hazen and Westland, this is, I guess, a great sign for them, and for the town. Like I said, they have benefited, we have benefited greatly from their services.
Are there any questions regarding this agenda item? With that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the professional services agreement extension with Hazen and Sawyer for utility on-call engineering services in an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And item C is the exact same.
Question,
Yes.
does not to exceed 214,000.
Mine says 175.
We provided you with an updated request for council action. It's actually on the dais, and it has the correct amount that is included in the agenda. So it is the 175 for both items.
Okay, so the information is all the same, but the amount changed to 214, is that correct?
The amount is not 214, it's 175. The agenda is correct.
Okay.
The request for council action item included in the packet had the wrong amount. The action item has been updated and placed out on the dais for your review and consideration.
So it's less than originally anticipated, which is always good. So we had a motion and a second, and we approved the first one. So moving forward to item C, which is the same agenda item, do you have anything new that you want to present on that?
Different company.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
This is correct.
Yes, this one's correct. And the online is correct, yes.
Not in the back, all right.
Okay. So this one is for discussion, approval, disapproval of professional services agreement extension with Westland Resources Incorporated for utility on-call engineering services in an amount not to exceed $175,000. With that, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve professional services agreement extension with Westland Resources Incorporated for utility on-call service engineering services in an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salas. Item D is discussion, approval, disapproval of the Air Methods Corporation non-exclusive revocable license agreement for the utilization of the helipad at Fire Station 541. Chief Strayer.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, as the council is aware, the hospital unexpectedly closed several months ago. That put us in a bit of a quandary when I lost our emergency room. We also lost where our ambulance and helicopter was housed. Our efforts after that were to maintain emergency service delivery in the town of Florence. And as we spoke about a few meetings back, AMR is temporarily housed in Station 2. And tonight we're asking you to consider allowing the Life Ambulance, LifeNet helicopter to use our helipad again on a temporary basis until they find permanent quarters, hopefully back when the hospital reopens. I can tell you that this is a critical service for this community. Patients that suffer trauma or strokes use this. There's been multiple occasions here out of this helipad that I'm sure lives have been saved through this service. So we're requesting that you would consider allowing them, again, on a temporary basis, expires June 30th of 2019. It could end sooner than that. And we also, by the way, have a representative here from LifeNet if you have any questions of him.
So if LifeNet would like to come on up, while you're walking, I'm just going to say we're thankful that you're in our community because it's an option for you to do so, and we very much appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. And Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. Just real quick about Air Methods. So Air Methods operates over 300 bases nationwide, serving 48 states. More importantly, we've operated LifeNet One, which has served the Florence community for just about a decade. As Chief mentioned, the hospital did unexpectedly close in June. We tried our best to stay on site, but unfortunately with various parties involved in that, we could no longer stay there. I would like to say thank you to the town for allowing us to relocate to the helipad to continue our services to the community. I would truly appreciate if we can continue that life-saving critical care service that we offer with our helicopter service to the town of Florence and surrounding communities, and that's why we've come here this evening.
Thank you very much. While you're here, I have a question.
Yes.
It's a good one. So looking towards the future, when that hospital opens, would you ever consider having 2 helicopters in our area? Does the call volume justify something like that looking into the future?
You know, probably the best way to answer that for you is we do provide a network of air medical helicopters. So there was an unfortunate event about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I'm sure we all saw that on the news. It was a multiple rotor response where we as a company sent 4 air medical helicopters from our network. But we're not opposed to the idea if the call volume does support a second helicopter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council? No. All right, with that, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Air Methods Corporation non-exclusive revocable license agreement for the utilization of the helipad at Fire Station 541.
Second?
Motion in multiple seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Item E is discussion, approval, disapproval of the land use approval process agreement by and between the Town of Florence, a municipal corporation, and Southwest Value Partners GTIS MR LLC, a Delaware limited liability company. Mr. Brent Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of council, it pleases me greatly to have this item before you this evening. As you're aware, we approved a very similar agreement 2 meetings ago with Pulte Development Corporation. For those folks watching us on TV and in the audience tonight, the town entered into 2 separate development agreements, one in 2003 and one in 2005, that pertain to Anthem and Anthem at Merrill Ranch. It became clear about 2 years ago that there was a need for clarification with respect to those agreements and our relationships going forward with our partners, who at that time were Pulte and Southwest Value Partners. We've now taken on a third partner in D.R. Horton, and they were at the last scheduled council meeting. I'm happy to report that we have come to the conclusion of that negotiation process with Southwest Value Partners and have crafted an acceptable clarification agreement. That agreement includes a number of things beneficial to both the town and the developer: an extension of development timeframes, responsibility clarification for maintenance, storm drains, right-of-way dedication requirements, ADA improvements, dry well maintenance, financial assurances, and most importantly, from a town's perspective, the ability to collect development impact fees, which were given away in the original development agreement. So this will bring a lot of revenue to the town of Florence to help us with needed improvements in the future, clear until 2038, that we didn't stand to receive from before. There is a representative from Southwest Value Partners here tonight, if you should have any questions for him, but I have my time available to answer questions, if any.
Are there any questions?
Question? I'm sure you're going to know what it is. That's the 42-foot wide streets. I thought we were going to go to 50-foot wide streets.
42-foot wide streets is what we agreed to with the developers with regard to the existing PAD, so that we had room for the 5-foot ADA required sidewalks. And that was the negotiation the whole time, was to try and meet ADA. Same as the Pulte agreement we approved 2 meetings ago.
I'm not too happy with that, because I did do some checking. I found out that Chandler has gone to 50-foot wide streets. I didn't check the other towns. And I also found that the streets that had, they even have parking requirements. You have to have a 35-foot wide street to have parking on both sides of the street.
We have 2 existing development agreements that set forth the roadway standards, as well as engineering standards that have been approved for this subdivision. In order to go to 50-foot streets, we would have to completely start over with the planned area development, because they would lose hundreds of lots and all those standards would have to be changed. This is not an amendment to the development agreement. This is a clarification under the existing development agreement. The reason that we can go 2 feet wider is because the development agreement included a provision that said if there are changes to federal law, we had to work within that. So there was a change after the PAD was approved, requiring 5-foot sidewalks on residential streets. So this is an accommodation as a clarification, not an amendment of the PAD. Hopefully that was clear.
All right, thank you. If there are no other questions, would the representative like to come up? If not, that's okay. Nope, we're good. All right, with that, I need a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a land use approval process agreement by and between the Town of Florence, a municipal corporation, and SWVP-GTIS MR LLC, a Delaware limited liability company.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Hey.
Oh, thank you. All right, moving on to item 14, which is our manager's report. Mr. Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of council, I'm happy to provide a written version of the manager's report, and I'll go through that fairly quickly. First and foremost, under community vitality, Community Services Department just submitted their new activity guide, and I got a copy of it last week. It looks really nice, and I know we've received a number of very positive comments with respect to that. In addition, due to this year's budget process, that guide went out to every residence within the 85132 area code. So I think that's been a successful effort, and I know that Brian is going to be tabulating and giving us an evaluation during the budget process of whether that cost and that distribution ended up being more participation in our programs. Secondarily, as you know, earlier tonight, we received a development agreement application from the Arizona Fight Club, and we will begin negotiations with the Robles family with respect to a successful project. Every 2 years, the clerk's office conducts a training program for newly elected council members. We are in the middle of that process at this time, and our 2 newly elected council members are in the audience this evening. Last week, the town of Florence, and I'm sure some of you are going to speak to this during your piece, but we very successfully hosted the State Transportation Board last week, and I have received so many calls and emails from folks that participated in that event saying it was the best. It was the best one. We did a better job hosting than anyone else, and I know that we will derive benefit from that. So thank you so much for supporting us in that process. For those on TV and in the audience that aren't aware, a number of things occurred besides the meeting, including a golf tournament, a board dinner, a continental breakfast, and then ultimately the board meeting hosted in this room. Also, if you haven't noticed, a lot of preparation went in. The walls have been repainted, and we made some improvements in this room as well. We will be updating the carpets in the near future, but we wanted to get as much of that process done as we could. The other thing I would say is we have kicked off our polymer modified asphalt rubber, or PMAR program, which is what Chris just got an award for. That process is already underway, and we're going to pave about 83,800 square yards of our streets this year, the most that we have. And the HA5 program, I believe, started last week in Anthem, and once again, that's a record. 143,000 square yards are getting HA5 in Anthem. So thanks to Chris and his crew with respect to that. I will close with something that was spoke to earlier by the chiefs, and that is we're going to be hosting a domestic violence awareness event this Thursday, October 4th, Padilla Park, 5:30, be there or be square. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Billingsley. Excellent report. Before we move on, actually, I'll move on to the department reports. Are there any council members that have questions regarding the department reports?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Councilmember Hawkins.
Under community services, the Cocopelli Moon Saloon, it's almost daily I run into people wondering when something's going to be done about it, and we're almost into our winter visitor and tourist season. I'm just wondering where are we on that? I noticed the last time we had contact with the owner was back in June, and it says that we had a structural evaluation. Well, on the evaluation, is it going to have to be torn down, or is it going to be, or is it feasible to rebuild it, or what's the owner planning on doing at this point?
Nothing.
So if I read your lips correctly,
This is a highly requested item by the public, and we are planning to come forward with a presentation on the next agenda. We would hate to get into a situation to where we're having a dialogue or a discussion and have our attorney shut us down for not being in compliance with the open meeting law. Because it's a discussion so many people are readily waiting for, we would like to defer to the next meeting, but I'd be happy to discuss with you after.
okay, that's perfect. Yes. Thank you. Thank you both. Any other questions for the department heads? Department heads, do you have anything else that you'd like to share? Okay. Before I move on to, there is a second call to the public. Good. See, I didn't look at the agenda super close for a second because I wrote all over it during our budget session. This is our second call to the public of the evening, and I do have two people that would like to speak. First is Mrs. Gail Hughes, and she would like to speak on the topic of the Town of Florence General Plan 2020 annexation. Come on up to the podium, ma'am. That way we can hear you in the microphone. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We keep hearing conflicting stories. One that we're going to be annexed, Cactus Forest, it's the southeast rural part of the town character areas. Then we hear that we're not, but it's in the Town of Florence general plan that we are going to be annexed. What is the...
So you are in our general plan, however, there are no annexations moving forward at this time.
And how can we present that to our community to make them believe us?
I am going to have you meet with Mr. Billingsley, he's our town manager, and he'll make sure that you have all that information, and Mr. Ben Bitter can possibly put something out in the newspaper, so this way we can communicate with all of the residents.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming this evening. And if you could share with Mr. Billingsley if you're hearing if they want to be annexed or don't want to be annexed, all that information is always helpful. Okay, Miss Roberta Craig, who would also like to come and speak on annexations. Okay, yes ma'am. Thank you so much. If you can't get the answers from him, call me. Call any member of council. We'll talk. We're always open. Our numbers are listed. You're welcome. Okay, finally, we have our call to the council for current events only. Council Member Hawkins.
I have nothing at this time.
Council Member Galeen.
I just want to take time to commend Chris Salas. You have done more in the short time that you have been here than the whole 19 years that I worked here. There's always action on the street. Your crew's out there all the time, highly visible. You attack the deficiencies with the water and wastewater systems, and I really want to tell you what a great job you do on that. Thank you, Chris.
Council Member Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Councilman Wall hinted on this. I heard discussions about the Pinell Partnership meeting this last week ago. We had a presentation on the opportunity zones. And it's quite exciting when you hear about opportunity zones. And most of our downtown, I think it starts at Butte and it goes all the way on to the military reservation, is in an opportunity zone. And that is a IRS designation on any facility that improvements that are made on a building or a new building built. If the owner holds on to that property for 10 years and sells it, it's tax-free. So I'm glad the Chamber's here tonight because that's something that you guys can help promote, and maybe we can get people to take advantage of that and invest in our town. So it's sort of exciting. IRS was supposed to make some releases on that. They were saying within the next week or so. It hadn't been published yet, but I don't know if it has. I haven't seen anything on it, but you can keep your eye out for that. The other question I guess I have for our town clerk is the open meeting law. Have we got a schedule on that yet when we're going to have some training on that? Yes, we do have a schedule. Are you going to tell us what the schedule is?
I will provide that notice very shortly. You'll be getting it online, and all of our boards and commissions will also be invited.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wall.
First of all, I attended the golf tournament, the lunch, and the dinner for the Arizona Transportation Board last Thursday, and it was hot and humid on that golf course. But everybody seemed to have a good time. There was a lot of congeniality among our townspeople and the board. I was fortunate to become acquainted with the chairman of that board. He was the driver of my golf cart. We had fun. The Windmill did a great job of hosting the dinner. There were a lot of executives and electeds from throughout the area who were in attendance. And so there was a lot of communication and networking going on. So that was a great event. One of the highlights was the Pinell County Museum had a fairly impressive display of the history of transportation in Arizona, or actually more specific to Florence, that a lot of the attendees reviewed and learned, including me, about some of the types of transportation that Florence had, including a railroad station, mule team, a lot of interesting facts. And that exhibit will be available at the Historical Museum for the public to see. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend all of the Budget Committee meeting on Wednesday because I'm going to be participating on a panel of civic individuals for interviewing the finalists for the Horizon Health CEO position up in Apache Junction. And that will be someone who will have an influence on the Horizon Health facility here in Florence. So I'm looking forward to that. And Thursday, I'm looking forward to attending an in-service presentation for all of our staff for community engagement and customer service. And it's going to be presented by an individual who presented at the League of Arizona Cities conference in August. And both Brian and I attended that presentation, and we're very impressed with that. And we're looking forward to having our staff members have the benefit of that presentation. And last but not least, Brent had sent us some information about opportunity zones, and I just want to make sure that we can share that with the chamber, and it's some great information about how those work. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson?
I just wanted to start out, I've got quite a few events I wanted to make sure we highlight, but I wanted to start off about the activity guide that was mentioned. I wanted to make sure Brian knows that I had posted about it on social media, and I had an overwhelming response. Everyone was very excited to have it, and not only that, they were saying things like that they were finally able to plan their year. They were able to plan their families' vacations around certain events. They were able to mark things on their calendar. They were able to remind themselves to sign up for certain things. So in the least, even if the participation may or may not increase, these people are now able to prepare. And I feel that the community was very thankful for that. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. And I had gotten some requests, even though they said they were sent out to every home. There were some people who said they didn't get them. So if we do have more, if we have those available at the community center, that would be great. I know they'd be appreciative of the opportunity to pick those up. I know that Brent had mentioned about the Pinal County Attorney's Office, their kickoff for domestic violence awareness that's happening on Thursday, October 4th from 5:30 to 7:30. It is a great opportunity for us to be involved in the community and show them this is something that's not going to be tolerated in our community, and to stand with the victims. I also wanted to make sure people know that there is a fire department open house on October 13th from 3 to 6. Followed by there is a movie showing us Coco over at the by the pool, and it's at 6:30 that evening. So it's an opportunity to get out with your family and spend some time together. Great day for the kids. Also, I'd remind the public that we do have Make a Difference Day that's coming up, and this is their second annual Make a Difference Day here in Florence. It's October 27th from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And we have a couple different opportunities, both on the volunteering side as well as on the receiving side. So if there's anybody in the community that has needs that they're physically not able to do around their home or their yard, or if they know somebody who's struggling, we'd be happy to receive those requests. You could probably contact Allison Feliz regarding that if you want to contact the community center. She's coordinating all that effort to make sure that we have volunteers set up for those. Also, there will be family-friendly volunteer opportunities as well, so bring out the kids and come out to volunteer. Let's see. Also, the last thing I wanted to mention was that something that's I wanted to make sure when we talked about the budget that we get an opportunity to voice from council what we desire and what we want to see. Sort of, if you were campaigning all over again, what would you like to see from Florence? How would you like to see us form and grow? What areas do we have to improve? And it's sort of frustrating sometimes when after the budget process is over and I'm talking with staff and saying, this is one thing that nobody said they didn't want this or nobody said they did want this. There's some differences in opinion as far as what they feel is being supported and not supported. So I want to make sure that council knows that if there's things that somebody else is saying, just silence doesn't mean you're accepting them or denying them. You have to be vocal about what you want and what you don't want. If somebody says something that you agree with, you have to vocalize that those things are things that you agree with, not just general statements of, yep, sounds good. They want to hear specifics. So I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to have their voice heard and for them to support other ideas. And that's all I have. So, all right.
Well, I'm going to piggyback just a little bit off of your announcement on our Make a Difference Day, which is October 27th, 2018. It is from 7 to 11 in the morning. I just shared earlier, and Brian and Allison already are aware, but Manny from the United Way sends her regrets she couldn't be here this evening. However, they received a grant, and they are investing in Florence and helping with our community food drive. They have already pre-ordered $2,000 worth of materials to make minestrone soup. And I know a lot of members in our community talk about, attending Feed Our Starving Children. And, sometimes that food, it goes overseas and we want to do something locally in our community. We have that opportunity to do that. So we're looking to put together a team of 20 volunteers. It's going to be set up from 9 to 10:30 during the Make a Difference Day event over at the community center. And if you want to come on out, put on one of those little caps that keep your hair contained and get in there and start helping out. We're going to make 5,000 meals in an hour and a half, and it's going to stay local. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. Let us know, because we're going to take, 20 people for that specific project and then add 5 alternates just in case, somebody gets sick or something happens. We have that.
Madam Mayor, I have a question. Are they actually going to be cooking the soup or packaging?
No, so everything's dry. So it's just like where it's also a really good teamwork event, and something that maybe down the road, chamber might want to do, or, school district. If you have a team that wants to come together, they can come out. And she's looking to make this a recurring event rather than a one-time event, and looking at ways to set up, maybe a meter of, once we get $2,000 collected in our community, we'll make another 5,000 meals. It's not just limited to minestrone soup. They had options like spaghetti with basil and pesto. I didn't know how that was going to go over with the kids, because sometimes I think kids, they see something green in their food and no, they're not going to eat it. And we want kids to eat it. That's the whole point, is to get it in the home and feed, people that need that food. Macaroni and cheese was another option. So it's all dry, and then they just have to mix it with water and cook it, and it's ready to go. All right, so, and also I heard from a high school student, I'm going to be reaching out to Allie, of a student who wants to put together a book drive as part of Make a Difference Day and coordinate those books and get them into the classrooms for teacher libraries. I thought that was a cute idea. So this past week I had a great opportunity. As council knows, I shared it with Mark. I had traveled out to DC. It was a whirlwind trip. I left on Wednesday. I came back on Friday. While I was there on Thursday, we started with a White House tour, which was absolutely amazing. Our nation's capital is beautiful. At our meetings, there was Vice President Mike Pence, and he opened it up. And then his wife, Karen Pence, spoke about career opportunities for military spouses. So I'm working on getting this information out, as well as sharing it to the different platforms. There's opportunities for our military spouses where, if they want to work from home, there's opportunities that they can put them in contact with. They're working on certifications, because when they're relocated to different states, if your spouse is a teacher, going through that certification process is very challenging. So they're looking at, ways that they can make that easier. And they're covering, some of that cost that is associated with that. They're also paying for a year of LinkedIn professional community for those service members. So I really want to make sure that anybody in our community also has that information, as well as we have spouses that their significant others are deployed. U.S. Department of Education Secretary Betsy DeVos spoke about education support for all students, both traditional and non-traditional students, and how the jobs of 2030 have not even been created yet, and what are we doing to prepare for that future. I know the president of CAC is very honed in on that, and she's already created a program where she's working with the industries, and they're working to train the upcoming workforce for those positions. So we have a lot of exciting things happening. They also talked about fighting the opioid epidemic. And this is something where our public safety is right on the front line, not only in stopping, some of these things from happening within our community, but also treating the problem and finding some assistance to help. I believe now our fire department carries it's a drug, it reverses it. I forget the name of it. I want to say Narcan. Okay, Narcan. And so this way it helps them immediately. We talked about public-private partnerships. I'm giving you a very condensed because I'm very excited and want to share. And lastly, yes, it was great. So the information is disseminated so seamlessly throughout all of the organizations because earlier Jennifer Evans shared through Mr. Billingsley the opportunity zones. So this is how great this information is disseminated. I heard about it at the White House. I came back, I attended a MAG meeting, a CAG meeting, and a Pinal County Mayor's meeting, all between Wednesday and Friday of this past week. We all talked about opportunity zones. We're all on the same page. Pinal Partnership, that was their focus at their breakfast. So, there's more information that's going to be coming out regarding that. Something that was great that I want to share, Mark Cowling gave me this information. He said, did you meet a lady named Al Hagens? So when I got off the plane and I got onto the shuttle, there was a lady, and we were getting on the shuttle together, and she's the mayor of Salisbury, South Carolina. And she said, are you here for the mayor's conference? I'm like, yeah, I am. Are you? And she's like, yeah. So we started talking, and we started talking about from why did you run, what motivated you to run? And I shared that, what motivated me to run originally was a personal experience, and it happened to tie into how we are the safest community in Arizona. And that sparked her to want to go back into her community to work to make her community the safest community in Arizona. And when she asked, what advice do you have? I said, work very closely with your town manager, work with your police chief, work with your fire chief, make sure you have your response times because that's what's going to make a difference, that you have your staffing and your response times down. So I just wanted to share that. We are inspiring other communities to be better as well across the United States, and I had no idea until Mark told me. All right, with that, that hit all of my notes. So I need a motion. Oh, one more thing. Congratulations, Florence Gophers. They won the game over Coolidge High School this past Friday night. It was a very amicable game. I remember when I first moved to Florence 14 years ago, there was this rivalry. We had police, we had fire. They were always there because something might happen. It was such a civil group. It was so much fun, and both teams played very hard, and it was a great game. They were very well matched, and it was fun to watch, fun to cheer on. So with that, I need a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are dismissed.